Welcome back, everybody. I want to today cover a subject. I have talked about a subject many times on which camera should you buy, and it's kind of an impossible question to answer. But more importantly, the question should be, is it time to upgrade? Should I buy this new camera? What are the reasons I'm buying this new camera? So when you look into that, if you're a professional photographer, you do this as a serious hobby, but especially for the working pros that like shoot weddings and events and that sort of thing, I'll use myself as an example. I used the Canon 6D, not the 60D, but the 6D, the full frame, and it's probably 12, 13 years old. Does a great job. It's 20 megapixels. Has great color balances. I think this camera has one of the best color balances I've ever seen in any camera. But when it came time to upgrade, I was looking at the Canon R6. Now, there's a big difference. Canon R6 is a mirrorless camera. Canon 6D is a DSLR. They're both 20 megapixels, so that's not really much of a difference. Now, the R6 does have a newer sensor, but, you know, it's not that huge of a deal. At 20 megapixels is 20 megapixels. The question you kind of have to ask yourself is, what can I get from this new camera that I'm going to purchase that's going to be worth X amount of dollars that I can't get from my old camera? So first thing I always say is have mastered your old camera. Use it to its fullest extent and then consider jumping into another camera. If you've got a Canon 50D and you don't have it but halfway mastered, there's no reason to jump to a 90D because you haven't fully used your 50D yet. So fully learn the camera you got and then think about upgrading, because otherwise you're just kind of wasting money. And believe me, camera companies will keep selling you cameras. They will sell them constantly. They come out with them all the time. There's always something new, cool coming out. But the deal with me in the Canon 6D, there was a few things. Now, like I said, the color balance I don't think you can hardly beat the Canon 6D for color balance. The Canon R6 is fine. I don't know that it's as good as the 6D on color balance. But the autofocusing is huge. This camera, you know, if somebody walks into the frame, it captures their eye. This has the focal points where you have to roll around the focal points and then frame up your shot. The focusing is huge. I shoot a lot of weddings, a lot of portraits. So focusing quickly is extremely important. So that was a big plus for the Canon R6. Now a minus for the Canon R6, it was $2,300 brand new. Now I got it refurbished from Canon for a little bit less, but it was still a nice chunk of change, and it's just the body only. I've added the grip and the cage and all that since then. But the new mirrorless cameras, the batteries, they go in a hurry. Like I could put 2 batteries in this Canon 6D and shoot an entire wedding and probably still have 25% left. I could shoot over 1,000 pictures all day and never probably have to change batteries. That is not the case with the Canon R6. It goes through batteries like crazy. I've got the battery grip on there, but I also have 6 more batteries on top of that, so I keep rotating them in. You have your electronic viewfinder. Everything on it is using batteries, and it drains the power in a hurry, way more than a DSLR does. So you've got to consider, what are you gaining? So I thought, okay, I'm gaining an incredible focus. You can't hardly beat the focus of this R6. I know Sony has some good focusing cameras, but Sony and Canon are probably the 2 very best at focusing. And the Canon R6, at the time, I believe to be the best camera Canon had. Now, 20 megapixels is fine with me. I don't need an R5 with 45 or 48 megapixels, whatever it is. That's good for a few people. If you're doing a lot of cropping, you're making gigantic pictures, but I'm doing weddings. I'm probably not going to print anything over 20 by 30. So 20 megapixels is fine for me, and it still leaves room to crop. And you can always fall back on Topaz or something if you get into a dire emergency. Like a couple of weeks ago, I had a bride needed, she was making some kind of 8-foot banner. So I ran her file through Topaz to just make it bigger so it would look better. So, you know, you can always fall back on that. There's no reason to spend an extra $2,000 on the camera when you can pay $150 and run it through Topaz. So I gained focusing, but it did cost more money. Color balance probably still goes to the 6D, but the color balance on this is not bad. I shoot RAW, so you can pretty much make the color whatever you want anyway. Now, another thing with the Canon R6 is you can use the RF lenses, and that's good and bad. The RF lenses are really sharp, they're really nice, and some of them are really pricey, like the 24-105 f2.8, I believe is like $3,100, and to me it's extremely heavy, so I wouldn't buy it for that reason, because I'm older. You young guys wouldn't have a problem, but at a wedding, my back would be dying if I carried around a 3-pound lens. So I do use the Canon 24-70 EF version on my Canon R6. The focusing is fine with the EF lenses. The EF lenses are really cheaper right now because they're trying to, sell the RF lenses. I do have some of the RF lenses, like the 50 millimeter is a great little lens. It was $150, and it's definitely worth $150. So the Canon 6D, obviously I can't use RF lenses with it. So kind of stuck with what's left of the EF lenses. So that's a plus with the R6, is I can keep adding the new type lenses. And on top of that, with my adapter, I can go back and use the EF lenses also. Now, another huge advantage I have with the Canon R6 over the 6D. The 6D, I went from, I believe I was using the 70D for most of my weddings. And when I went to the 6D, the low light from the full frame was unbelievable. You guys know how much better the full frame looks in low light situations, especially at a wedding, than an APS-C camera. I checked, I think it's cameradecision.com, and I went and used it, and the Canon R6 is even better. It's like a whole stop better under low light than even the Canon 6D. So to me, the autofocusing and the low light capabilities are the two main things that made me decide to get the Canon R6. Not to mention I had already, like I said, you need to master your camera. I had already pushed the Canon 6D to its limits. So there was nothing else that was going to get. Something else that I can get from the Canon R6 that I can't get from the 6D is I can get 4K video on here. This only does HD. I think it does only HD 30 frames a second. Don't quote me on that, I'm not sure. But I know the Canon R6 will do 4K 60 frames per second. So if I need the video, which I have gotten into video and more, the Canon R6 is a huge plus in that area. So was it worth the near $2,000 to gain great ISO, incredible focusing, and wonderful video? And I say yes, it was. The one other thing too, when you're photographing weddings, big events, and you're getting paid, you need to have a newer camera. Now, I'm not saying, this camera's 12, 13 years old. I'm not saying it's going to break. It may last a long time. And then again, a new camera could break tomorrow. But it's just kind of common sense. If you're getting paid a lot, you need to have a go-to camera. I'm not saying every year trade in a camera and get a brand new one just so that you've got a new camera to go to in your bag, but a newer camera. So my full frame being 12 plus years old, I felt it was a good time to upgrade, to get the autofocus, to get the video, to get the low light availability and access to the RF lenses. So I made the purchase. But if you don't have good reasons to make a new purchase, don't drop $3,000 on a camera if you can still do everything you need to do with your old camera. There's no reason to do that. That's wasting money. Only upgrade if your old camera won't do the job that the new camera that you want will do. Like I said, the 6D don't focus like the R6. It doesn't have the video like the R6, and the low light isn't as good as the R6. So when I added all that together with the weddings and stuff that I do, it was definitely worth the investment for the R6. Now, I'm talking about Canon cameras here, but the same theory applies to Nikon, Fuji, whatever camera you've got. You want to be able to make sure you're getting your money's worth when you upgrade your camera. Don't just upgrade for the sake of upgrading because, hey, that's a cool feature. I got to have that. Let me have that. It'll be here tomorrow. And that's not a good reason to upgrade. Just kind of think about that. Just think about the camera that you've got. What will it not do that the new camera will do? And is it worth the money? Say it's $500 extra and it only focuses better. Well, that's up to you. Is the better focusing worth $500? Is the low light worth $1,000? So you kind of see where I'm going with this. Just make sure that you mastered your old camera, pushed it as far as it'll go, and the new camera that you're getting will do things that your old camera wants, and that it's worth the investment, because camera bodies drop in price. They're not like lenses. A lot of lenses will be in 3 or 4 years still worth 80% of what you paid for them brand new. Camera bodies aren't like that. They will drop. They're kind of like new cars. They come out extremely high and they drop extremely fast. So anyway, I hope this has helped you guys. It's not something I hear people talk about a lot, but I just wanted to bring it up. I think it's important to make sure that you're spending your money wisely and not just crazily going and buying something because there's some cool new gadget that you got to have. Believe me, I love gadgets too, but you've got to make sure that it's worth the investment. If you're in business, now if you're just doing a hobby and you've got plenty of money, then you can go ahead and do whatever you want. But if you're in business and you're doing it to make money, you need to have these reasons before you upgrade and spend the money on the equipment that you need. You need to make sure that it's worth it. So, hey, that's all I got to say. Just wanted to bring that up. So if we're helping you guys out, or if you have any questions, my email's at the bottom. I'll be glad to help you out. And hey, if we're helping you guys out, hit subscribe. Have a good day.